The first attempt on Jake's life came without warning. He was walking through the diplomatic quarter of Haven Station when a Zentari assassin appeared from behind a pillar. The reptilian alien moved faster than any human could, but Agent Chang was faster. Her laser pistol fired 3 times before the assassin could reach Jake. "That was too close," Agent Chang said as station security arrived. "They're getting desperate." Jake looked at the dead assassin. Its scales were still changing colors even in death, shifting from dark green to pale yellow. "How did they know where to find me?" "That's what worries me," Agent Chang said. "My location reports are classified at the highest levels. Someone with access to our most secret information told them where you would be." Director Stone arrived on Haven Station within hours. Her face was grim as she met with Jake and Agent Chang in a secure room. "The Zentari assassination attempt was just the beginning," she said. "Our intelligence networks are reporting unusual activity across the galaxy. Species that have been enemies for centuries are suddenly communicating with each other." "What kind of communications?" Jake asked. "They're sharing information about human diplomatic activities. Specifically, they're sharing information about you, Jake. They don't know exactly what you can do yet, but they know that human negotiations have become much more successful since you started working." Agent Chang pulled up a holographic display, showing star maps and communication intercepts. "Look at this pattern. The Kylarians contacted the Ethereal Collective 3 days ago. The Vorthic Empire sent messages to 5 different species yesterday. The Morphic Syndicate has been talking to everyone." Jake studied the display. Even without his lie-detecting ability, he could see that something big was being planned. They're forming some kind of alliance. "Exactly," Director Stone said. "For the first time in galactic history, the most deceptive species are working together, and they all have one goal." "Killing me," Jake said. "Or capturing you," Director Stone corrected. "We intercepted part of a message between the Ethereal Collective and something called the Shadow Assembly. They want to study you, to figure out how your ability works." Over the next few weeks, Jake's missions became increasingly dangerous. Every diplomatic meeting was now a potential trap. Species that had never worked together before were coordinating their efforts to expose him. During a trade negotiation with the Stellar Dominion, Jake noticed that there were representatives from 3 other species in the room. The Dominion claimed they were there as observers, but Jake's condition told him this was a lie. "Agent Chang," Jake whispered, "we need to leave. Now. What's wrong?" "The observers aren't just watching. They're here to capture me." Agent Chang trusted Jake's instincts completely by now. She activated a hidden emergency beacon, and within seconds, human security forces burst into the room. The aliens tried to fight, but they had underestimated human military technology. As they escaped, Jake caught a glimpse of the aliens' true plan. They had brought devices designed to study his brain activity while he was detecting lies. They wanted to understand the biological basis of his condition. "They're trying to figure out how to replicate my ability," Jake told Director Stone later, "or how to block it." "That's what I was afraid of," Director Stone said. "Jake, we've received intelligence that confirms our worst fears. The Shadow Assembly isn't just a group of species working together. It's being led by the 2 most powerful civilizations in the galaxy." She showed Jake classified files about the Eternal Keth and the Voidborn. The Keth were ancient beings that looked like living crystals. They had controlled galactic politics for over 50,000 years by manipulating other species. The Voidborn were even older, creatures of pure energy that existed in the spaces between stars. "These 2 species have been the real rulers of the galaxy for millennia," Director Stone explained. "Every major war, every political alliance, every trade agreement has been controlled by them from behind the scenes. They've kept the galaxy divided and fighting so that no one species could challenge their authority." Jake felt sick as he realized the scope of what they were facing. "And my ability threatens all of that." "More than threatens it," Director Stone said. "Your ability could destroy it completely." If other species knew the truth about how they've been manipulated, there would be a revolution across the entire galaxy. The Shadow Assembly's next attempt was more sophisticated. They didn't try to assassinate Jake directly. Instead, they tried to turn humanity against him. A series of mysterious accidents began happening to human colonies. Ships disappeared, space stations lost power, and trade routes were disrupted. Each time, the problem started right after Jake had exposed lies during diplomatic meetings. The message was clear. Jake's activities were bringing danger to humanity. Some human leaders began to question whether Jake's missions were worth the risk. Senator Paul Williams publicly called for Jake to be removed from diplomatic service. "This one man's ability is putting our entire species in danger," Senator Williams said during a public hearing. "How many human lives is the truth worth?" Jake watched the hearing from a secure location. It hurt to see his own people turning against him, but he understood their fear. The Shadow Assembly's campaign was working, but Admiral Wells defended Jake during the hearing. "Senator Williams, Mr. Martinez has prevented humanity from being enslaved by the Kylarians, deceived by the Ethereals, and controlled by the Zentari. Without his ability, our species would already be under alien domination. But at what cost?" Senator Williams argued. "Our colonies are under attack. Our trade routes are being disrupted. The aliens are punishing us because of what this man can do." Jake couldn't stand listening anymore. He walked into the hearing room, ignoring Agent Chang's protests. "Senator Williams," Jake said, "you're right that my ability has brought danger to humanity. But the danger was always there. The Shadow Assembly has been controlling the galaxy for thousands of years. They've destroyed species that got too powerful or too independent." The room fell silent. This was the first time Jake had spoken publicly about what he had learned. "The choice isn't between safety and danger," Jake continued. "The choice is between being free and being slaves. The Shadow Assembly was already planning to control humanity. My ability just forced them to show their true intention sooner." Senator Williams stood up. "That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're making decisions for our entire species based on your interpretation of alien lies. How do we know you're not wrong?" Jake felt the familiar pain building in his head. Senator Williams wasn't just disagreeing with him. The senator was lying about something. "Senator," Jake said carefully, "when did you first become concerned about my activities?" "As soon as I learned about the risks you were creating," Senator Williams replied. The pain in Jake's head got worse. The senator was lying about when his concerns started. "And you've never had any contact with alien representatives about this matter?" "Of course not," Senator Williams said quickly. "That would be inappropriate." Jake's body began to shake. Senator Williams was lying. He had been contacted by aliens about Jake's activities. "Senator Williams," Jake said, "you're lying? You've been in contact with members of the Shadow Assembly. They've been feeding you information and encouraging you to oppose my missions." The room erupted in chaos. Senator Williams tried to deny the accusation, but Jake's condition was public knowledge. Everyone knew he couldn't be wrong about detecting lies. Within hours, Human Intelligence Services had traced Senator Williams' communications. They found encrypted messages from void-born agents and Kef manipulators. The Shadow Assembly had been trying to turn humanity against Jake by using human politicians as their agents. The revelation changed everything. Jake's public exposure of Senator Williams' deception proved to the human population that the Shadow Assembly was already infiltrating their government. The debate about whether Jake was worth the risk ended immediately. "Jake," Director Stone said after the hearing, "you've just shown the galaxy something they never expected to see. You exposed the conspiracy in real time, in front of witnesses who couldn't deny what they were seeing. What does that mean for us? It means the Shadow Assembly can't work in secret anymore. They've been forced into the open. But it also means they're going to stop trying to capture you and start trying to kill you with everything they have." Agent Chan checked her secure communicator. "Director, we're receiving reports of massive military movements. The Keth and Voidborn fleets are mobilizing. It looks like they're preparing for war. Jake looked out at the stars again. His condition had started as a personal disability that made his childhood difficult. Now it had triggered a galactic conflict between the forces of deception and truth. What do we do now? He asked. Now we fight, Director Stone said. The Shadow Assembly has ruled through lies and manipulation for 50,000 years. But they've never faced an enemy they couldn't deceive. For the first time in galactic history, they're going to have to fight fair. Jake nodded. He had become the most dangerous being in the galaxy, not because he was strong or smart, but because he couldn't be lied to. And now that simple fact was about to change the course of history for every intelligent species among the stars. Jake's mission with the Xanthari had proven what Director Stone suspected. The galaxy was full of species that had built their power on lies and deception. But now humanity had something that could cut through all that dishonesty like a knife. Through paper, Director Stone called Jake back to Earth for a meeting that would change his life forever. The room was full of the most important people in human government. President Martinez, Admiral Corinne Wells, and several other high-ranking officials were all there to hear what Jake had discovered. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Stone began, Jake Martinez has given us something more valuable than any weapon or technology. He has given us the ability to see through the lies that have controlled galactic politics for thousands of years. Admiral Wells leaned forward. Mr. Martinez, I've read your reports about the Xanthari. Are you absolutely certain they were planning to deceive us? Jake nodded. Yes, Admiral. Every time Sala talked about their genuine desire to help humanity, my body reacted like she was poisoning me. They're not trying to help us. They're trying to make us dependent on their technology so they can control us later. President Martinez spoke up. If this is true, then we need to be very careful about how we use this information. Mr. Martinez, how do you feel about taking on a bigger role in protecting humanity? Jake thought about it carefully. His whole life, his condition had made him feel like an outsider. But now, for the first time, he felt like he could actually help his species survive in a dangerous galaxy. I want to help, Jake said. But I need to understand what you're asking me to do. Director Stone smiled. We're asking you to become humanity's secret weapon. We want to send you to the most important diplomatic meetings in the galaxy. Your job will be to tell us when other species are lying to us. Within a month, Jake was given a new identity as a specialist diplomatic translator. His real purpose was kept secret from everyone except the highest levels of human government. He was assigned to work with Agent Lisa Chang, one of the best intelligence officers in human service. Agent Chang was a small woman with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. She had been working in alien intelligence for 10 years, and she knew more about galactic politics than almost any other human. Jake, she said during their first meeting, you and I are going to change the balance of power in this galaxy. But we need to be very careful. If other species figure out what you can do, they'll try to kill you. Their first major assignment was with the Kylarian hive mind. The Kylarians were one of the most feared species in the galaxy because they could control the thoughts of other beings. They looked like large insects with multiple eyes and legs that moved like spiders. The Kylarians had been trying to get permission to establish colonies near human space. They claimed they wanted to be good neighbors and help protect humanity from more dangerous species. But Director Stone suspected they had other plans. The meeting took place on a neutral world called Harmony Station. The station was built inside a large asteroid, and it had sections designed for every type of alien life. The Kylarian section was dark and filled with a strange humming sound that made Jake's teeth ache. The Kylarian representative was a creature called Speaker Thekala. It had 6 legs, compound eyes like a fly, and a mouth that clicked when it spoke. But the most disturbing thing about it was that Jake could feel something trying to push into his mind when he looked at it. Human Jake, Speaker Thekala said, we greet you with friendship. The Kylarian hive mind has only peaceful intentions. Toward your species. The moment Jake heard these words, his body began to shake. The speaker was lying about having peaceful intentions. But there was something else happening too. Jake could feel the creature trying to plant thoughts in his mind, trying to make him believe the lies. We wish to establish colonies and systems near your worlds so that we can protect you from the void hunters and other dangerous species. The speaker continued. Jake's shaking got worse. Not only was this a lie, but he could feel the speaker trying to force him to believe it. The mental pressure was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It felt like someone was trying to rewrite his thoughts. Agent Chow noticed Jake's distress and quickly intervened. Speaker Zhukala, perhaps we should take a break. My colleague needs to review some documents. They left the meeting room and Jake immediately felt better. The mental pressure stopped as soon as he was away from the Kylarian. What happened? In there? Agent Chang asked. It wasn't just lying, Jake said. It was trying to control my mind. I could feel it pushing thoughts into my head, trying to make me believe the lies. Agent Chang's face went pale. The Kylarians have never been able to control human minds before. They must be using some new technique. It didn't work, Jake said. My condition seems to protect me from mental manipulation. Every time it tried to plant a false thought, my body rejected it like it was a lie. They returned to the meeting, and Jake was ready for the mental assault this time. Speaker Shikala continued talking about peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. But Jake could feel the truth behind the words. The Kylarians wanted to establish colonies near human space so they could slowly take control of human minds. We have no interest in controlling human thoughts or behavior, the speaker said. Jake's body convulsed with pain. This was the biggest lie yet. The entire purpose of the Kylarian colonies was to control human minds. We simply want to share our knowledge and technology with your young species. The speaker continued down another lie. Jake was starting to understand the full scope of the Kylarian plan. They wanted to turn humans into slaves using their mind control abilities. After the meeting, Agent Chang sent an encrypted message to Director Stone. The Kylarians are planning to mentally enslave humanity. Jake's condition not only detected their lies but also protected him from their mind control attempts. The response came back within hours. Excellent work. Proceed to next assignment immediately. Their next mission was even more dangerous. They were sent to negotiate with the Ethereal Collective, a species of energy beings that existed partially outside of normal space and time. The Ethereals could manipulate reality itself, and they had been offering to share some of their technology with humanity. The meeting took place in a special chamber that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Jake had to wear a protective suit. That kept him anchored to normal reality. The Ethereals appeared as shifting patterns of light, an energy that hurt to look at directly. The ethereal representative called itself Pattern of Truth. It communicated by sending thoughts directly into Jake's mind, but the thoughts felt cold and alien. Human creature, Pattern of Truth said, we offer you knowledge of how to exist beyond the limitations of single-dimensional space. This gift comes with no cost or obligation. Jake felt the familiar pain in his head, but this time it was different. The lie was coming from a being that existed in multiple realities at once. His body was reacting to lies that existed across several dimensions. We have no desire to change your species or your reality, Pattern of Truth continued. We simply wish to help you evolve. The pain got worse. Jake realized that the Ethereals weren't just lying about their intentions. They were lying about the very nature of reality itself. They were trying to convince humans that their current existence was somehow incomplete or limited. Your species will remain exactly as it is now, just with access to higher dimensions, Pattern of Truth said. Jake's body began to shake violently. This was the biggest lie of all. The Ethereal's gift would fundamentally change humanity, but not in a good way. They would turn humans into something that was no longer human. After the meeting, Jake was exhausted. Fighting against lies that existed in multiple dimensions had pushed his condition to its limits, but he had learned something important. His ability to detect lies worked against beings that existed beyond normal reality. The ethereals want to transform humanity into something like them, Jake reported to Agent Chan. But they're lying about letting us remain human. Their gift would destroy what makes us human in the first place. Agent Chan was amazed. Jake, you just saved humanity from two of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Kylarians can't. Control your mind, and the ethereals can't deceive you with their reality manipulation. Word of Jake's success began to spread through the human intelligence network. He was sent to dozens of diplomatic meetings, and every time he uncovered dangerous lies and hidden agendas. Species that had been planning to trick or control humanity found their plans exposed before they could act. The Morphic Syndicate, shapeshifters who had been planning to replace human leaders with their own agents, couldn't fool Jake even when they looked exactly like humans. The Stellar Dominion, a militaristic empire that had been offering military alliance while secretly planning invasion, found their deception exposed within minutes of meeting Jake. Admiral Wells called Jake to her office after 6 months of successful missions. Mr. Martinez, you become the most effective intelligence asset humanity has ever possessed. But I'm concerned about the danger you're in. These species are starting to realize that something has changed in human negotiations. What do you mean? Jake asked, asterisk. Captain Harper stared at Jake for a long moment, trying to decide what to do. The meeting with the Vorthik was the most important diplomatic mission humanity had ever attempted. If Jake was right, they were walking into a trap. If Jake was wrong, they might destroy Earth's first chance to make powerful alien friends. I need to think about this, Captain Harper said. Can you go back in there and continue translating without having another attack? Jake wiped the sweat from his forehead. I can translate everything except the lies. When the ambassador lies, I just won't be able to repeat his words. My body won't let me. That might be enough, Captain Harper said. If you can't translate certain things he says, that will tell me which parts are lies. They returned to the meeting room. The Vorthik delegation was clicking impatiently among themselves. Ambassador Zektar's compound eyes seemed to look directly at Jake as they sat down. Is your translator feeling better? Ambassador Zektar asked in his clicking language. Jake translated the question, and Captain Harper nodded. Yes, thank you for your patience. We can continue now. The meeting resumed, but now Captain Harper was watching Jake very carefully. For the next hour, Jake translated everything the ambassador said without any problems. They discussed trade routes, mineral rights, and cultural exchange programs. Jake's voice was steady and clear as he repeated the Vorthik words in English. Then, Ambassador Zektar began talking about military cooperation. The Vorthik Empire will be happy to help protect human colonies from the dangerous species that live in the outer rim of the galaxy, he said. Jake started to translate, but then he stopped. His hands began to shake again, and he pressed his lips together tightly. He looked at Captain Harper and shook his head slightly. Ambassador Zektar continued speaking. We have no interest in controlling human military forces or placing our own soldiers on human worlds. Again, Jake couldn't translate the words. His body was fighting against him, and the pain in his head was growing stronger. He managed to whisper to Captain Harper, "He's lying about everything he just said." Captain Harper's training kicked in. She had been a military officer for 20 years before becoming a diplomat, and she knew how to read dangerous situations. Jake's condition was giving her information that no human had ever possessed before. She was getting a perfect lie detector reading on everything the alien said. Ambassador Zektar, Captain Harper said carefully, perhaps we should focus on simpler trade agreements for now. Military cooperation is a big step for a first meeting. The Vorthik ambassador's clicking became more rapid and aggressive. Through Jake, he said, but surely humans understand that the galaxy is a dangerous place. You need protection from species like the Krolix Raiders and the Void Hunters. This time Jake was able to translate because the ambassador was telling the truth. There really were dangerous species in the galaxy, and humans would need protection from them. But then Ambassador Zektar continued, the Vorthic Empire has no desire to expand into human territory. We only want to help you survive and prosper. Jake's body seized up again. He gripped the edge of the table and shook his head at Captain Harper. Another lie. Captain Harper made a decision that would change the course of human history. I think we need to end this meeting, she said. Humanity needs more time to consider these proposals. Ambassador Zektar's clicking became sharp and angry. This is most unusual. We have traveled far to meet with you. It would be insulting to end our talk so quickly. Jake translated this, and his voice was steady. The ambassador was telling the truth about being insulted. I apologize for any offense, Captain Harper said. But humans prefer to take time with important decisions. We will contact you with our response within 1 week. The Vorthic delegation left the space station, their beetle-like ship disappearing into the darkness of space. Captain Harper immediately sent an encrypted message to Earth reporting what had happened. Within hours, she received new orders. Take Jake Martinez to Earth immediately. He is to report to Director Alex Stone of Human Intelligence Services. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. During the trip, Captain Harper asked Jake many questions about his condition. She learned that he had never been wrong about detecting a lie, not even once in his entire life. She also learned that the condition worked with any language he understood, not just English. This changes everything, she told Jake. Do you understand what this means for humanity? Jake was starting to understand. Other species have been lying to each other for thousands of years. But they've never met someone who couldn't be fooled by lies. Exactly, Captain Harper said. You're not just a translator anymore, Jake. You might be the most important human being alive. When they arrived on Earth, Jake was taken to a secret government facility in the mountains of Colorado. The building looked ordinary from the outside, but inside it was full of the most advanced technology humanity possessed. Director Alex Stone was waiting for them. Director Stone was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been in charge of human intelligence operations for over 15 years. She was known for being brilliant and ruthless when it came to protecting humanity's interests. Mr. Martinez, she said, I've read your file. Your condition is remarkable, but I need to test it myself before I can trust it completely. For the next week, Jake was tested in every way possible. Director Stone brought in actors, politicians, and trained spies to lie to Jake in dozens of different ways. Some told obvious lies, others told subtle lies mixed with truth. Some lied in foreign languages, others used body language and facial expressions to deceive. Jake detected every single lie. His body reacted the same way every time someone tried to deceive him. The pain in his head, the shaking, the difficulty breathing. It was like his nervous system was allergic to dishonesty. Incredible, Director Stone said after the tests were complete. Mr. Martinez, you are going to help humanity survive in a galaxy full of species that have been lying to each other for millennia. Jake was assigned to a new unit called the Truth Assessment Division. His first major assignment was to investigate the Zentari Trade Consortium. The Zentari were reptilian aliens who controlled much of the galaxy's trade in rare minerals and advanced technology. They had been offering humanity very favorable trade deals, but Director Stone suspected there was something wrong. The deals are too good, she explained to Jake. Either the Zentari are being incredibly generous, or they're hiding something. Jake was sent to a space station called Commerce Hub, where the Zentari conducted most of their business. The station was enormous, with sections designed for hundreds of different alien species. The Zentari section was kept very hot and humid. Like a jungle, the Zentari themselves looked like large lizards walking on 2 legs. They had scales that changed color depending on their mood, and long tails that moved constantly. Their leader on the station was a female named Sala, who spoke perfect English. "Welcome, Human Jake," Sala said when they met. "We are so pleased to work with your species." The Zentari have always believed in fair and honest trade. The moment she said the words fair and honest, Jake felt the familiar pain beginning in his head. She was lying about something. During their first meeting, Sala explained the trade agreements in detail. "We offer you advanced technology in exchange for your raw materials. The prices we offer are the same prices we offer to all species. We treat everyone equally." Jake's body began to shake. Another lie. The Zentari were not treating humans equally. "Your technology will help humanity grow strong and prosperous," Sala continued. "We have no hidden agenda and no secret plans for your species." This time, Jake had to grip his chair to keep from falling over. The lies were coming fast, and each one hit him like a physical blow. But he was also learning something important. The Zentari weren't just lying about the trade deals. They were lying about their entire relationship with humanity. That night, Jake reported to Director Stone through a secure communication link. "They're lying about everything," he said. "The trade deals, the technology, their intentions toward humanity. I don't know what they're really planning, but it's not what they're telling us." Director Stone's voice was grim. "Can you find out what they're really up to?" "I can try," Jake said. "But I'll need to be careful. If they figure out what I can do, they might try to stop me." The next day, Jake returned to meet with Sala. This time, he was prepared. He had spent the night learning how to ask questions that would force her to reveal the truth or lie trying to hide it. "Sala," Jake said, "I'm curious about something. You mentioned that the Zentari treat all species equally. Does that mean you've never given anyone a worse deal than you're giving humans?" Sala's scale shifted to a darker color. "Of course not. We are always fair in our pricing." Jake felt the pain immediately. She was lying. The Zentari had given other species much worse deals than they were offering humans. "And you've never taken advantage of a species that didn't understand the true value of what they were trading?" "Never," Sala said quickly. "We always explain everything clearly." Another lie. Jake was starting to understand the pattern. The Zentari were known for cheating other species, but they were offering humans good deals for a specific reason. Asterisk. Jake Martinez knew he was different from the moment he first tried to lie. He was 6 years old when his mother asked if he had eaten the cookies from the jar. The truth was, yes, he had eaten 3 chocolate chip cookies while she was busy in the garden. But like any normal child, Jake tried to lie. "No, I didn't eat any cookies," he started to say. The words barely left his mouth when the pain hit him. It felt like someone had grabbed his brain and squeezed it hard. His whole body began to shake and he fell to the kitchen floor. Gasping for air like a fish out of water dot, his mother rushed to help him, thinking he was having some kind of attack. The doctors ran many tests but found nothing wrong with his brain or body. It took 3 more times of the same thing happening before his parents understood the truth. Their son could not tell lies. Every time Jake tried to say something that was not true, his body would rebel against him with terrible pain and shaking. Growing up was hard for Jake. Other kids learned to tell small lies to avoid trouble or to make friends. Jake had to find other ways. He became very good at choosing his words carefully. Instead of lying, he would say things like, "I don't want to talk about that," or "That's an interesting question." He learned to stay quiet when the truth would hurt someone's feelings. By the time Jake turned 25, he had learned to live with his condition. He worked as a translator for the government, helping with documents in different languages. His condition actually helped him in this job because he could never accidentally change the meaning of important papers. Everything he translated was perfectly honest and accurate. Then everything changed when humanity joined the Galactic Federation. For the first time in human history, Earth was invited to be part of a group that included alien species from across the galaxy. It was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to the human race. Jake was chosen to work on the diplomatic ship called Meridian. The ship was huge and beautiful, with technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. Jake's job was to help translate between humans and aliens during important meetings. Captain Lisa Harper was in charge of the ship, and she was known for being very smart and careful about dealing with aliens. The Meridian was heading to meet the Vorthic Empire for the first time. The Vorthic were a powerful alien race that controlled many star systems. They looked like large insects with 4 arms and shiny black skin. Their eyes were compound like a fly's eyes, and they spoke in clicking sounds that were very hard for humans to understand. Jake spent weeks learning the Vorthic language. It was unlike any human language he had ever studied. The clicking sounds had to be made in exactly the right way, or the meaning would change completely. Some words meant completely different things depending on how loud the clicks were made. Jake practiced for hours every day until he could speak and understand Vorthic almost perfectly. The meeting was scheduled to take place in a neutral space station called Haven Point. The space station was built specially for meetings between different alien species. It had areas designed for creatures that breathed different kinds of air and lived in different temperatures. The human section was comfortable and reminded Jake of being back on Earth. Captain Harper gathered her team before the meeting. "Remember, this is the first time humans will meet the Vorthic," she said. "We need to make a good impression. The Vorthic controls some of the richest mining systems in this part of the galaxy. If we can make friends with them, it will help humanity grow and prosper among the stars." Jake nodded along with the other team members. He felt nervous, but also excited. This was his chance to help humanity take its place in the galaxy. His strange condition had always made him feel like an outsider, but now his skills as a translator were needed for something truly important. The Vorthic delegation arrived at Haven Point in a ship that looked like a giant beetle. It was black and shiny, with strange lights that pulsed in patterns Jake didn't understand. The ship docked with the space station, and soon the aliens were walking through the corridors. The first time Jake saw a Vorthic up close, he had to fight the urge to step backward. They were much larger than he had expected, about 7 feet tall. Their 4 arms moved in ways that seemed impossible, and their compound eyes seemed to look in all directions at once. But Jake reminded himself that they were just another intelligent species, and his job was to help both sides understand each other. The main meeting room was set up with 2 long tables facing each other. The human delegation sat on one side, with Captain Harper in the center. The Vorthic delegation sat across from them, with their leader, Ambassador Zektar, in the middle. Jake sat next to Captain Harper, ready to translate anything that might be unclear. Ambassador Zektar spoke first. His clicking voice filled the room, and Jake translated his words into English. "We greet the humans with friendship and hope for peace between our peoples," Jake said. Repeating what the ambassador had said, Captain Harper smiled and responded, "We thank the Vorthic Empire for this meeting. Humanity hopes to learn from your wisdom and to trade fairly with your people." The meeting continued for several hours. They discussed trade agreements, sharing of technology, and the possibility of humans visiting Vorthic worlds. Everything seemed to be going very well. The Vorthic appeared friendly and willing to help humanity find its place in the galaxy. But then, Ambassador Zektar said something that made Jake's blood run cold. In the Vorthic language, the ambassador said, "We promise that our intentions toward humanity are completely peaceful. We have no hidden plans and no desire to harm your species in any way." The moment those words entered Jake's mind, his condition activated. The ambassador was lying. Jake knew it with absolute certainty, because his body was starting to react. His hands began to shake, and he felt the familiar pain building in his head. Jake tried to control himself, but his body wouldn't listen. His shaking got worse, and he started to gasp for air. The pain in his head was getting stronger, and he knew that if he tried to translate the lie, he would collapse completely. Captain Harper noticed Jake's distress immediately. "Jake, what's wrong?" she asked quietly. Jake couldn't speak. He was using all his strength to stay in his chair and not fall to the floor. His whole body was trembling, and sweat was pouring down his face. The other humans at the table were starting to notice that something was very wrong. Ambassador Zektar continued speaking, apparently not noticing Jake's condition. But Jake couldn't translate the words. Every time he tried to repeat the lie about peaceful intentions, his body rebelled. Against him, Captain Harper made a quick decision. She stood up and said, "I apologize, but we need to take a short break. My translator is feeling unwell." The Vorthic delegation clicked among themselves, clearly annoyed by the interruption. But they agreed to the break, and the humans quickly left the meeting room. In the hallway, Captain Harper grabbed Jake's arm. "What happened in there? You look like you were having some kind of attack." Jake was finally able to speak, though he was still shaking. "Captain, there's something you need to know about me. I have a condition that makes it impossible for me to lie or to repeat lies that others tell me." "What does that have to do with what just happened?" Captain Harper asked. Jake took a deep breath. Ambassador Zektar was lying when he said their intentions were peaceful. "My body reacts violently when I try to translate or repeat lies. The Vorthic are planning something bad, and they're using this meeting to hide their real plans." Captain Harper's face went pale. She had heard about Jake's condition in his file, but she had never seen it in action. Now she realized that Jake's strange ability might have just saved all of their lives. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" she asked. Jake nodded. "I've never been wrong about a lie in my entire life. The ambassador is definitely hiding something dangerous." Lisa helped Professor Keffer sit up slowly as his color returned to normal. The emergency scanner continued to beep softly, but the readings now showed stable vital signs. Both of his hearts were beating in perfect rhythm, working together, as they were meant to. "I feel much better," the professor said, though his voice was still weak. "The pain in my chest is gone." He looked at Lisa with curious eyes. "You said something hit me. What could have caused this?" Lisa looked around the room and noticed something on the floor near where the professor had been standing. It was a small crystal stylus that students used to take notes. It must have fallen from someone's desk when the chaos started. "Professor, were you holding anything when you started feeling unwell?" she asked. Professor Keffer thought for a moment. "Yes, I was demonstrating with a molecular pointer. It slipped from my hand and hit my chest before falling to the ground." He paused. "But surely such a small impact could not cause cardiac failure." "It was not the size of the impact," Lisa explained gently. "It was the timing. In humans, we know that even a baseball can stop a heart if it hits at exactly the wrong moment during the heartbeat cycle. For Zephyrians with two hearts, the timing would be even more critical." Dr. Velthar was studying the emergency scanner readings with amazement. "The electrical patterns are completely normal now," she said. "How did you know to compress the hearts in that specific sequence?" Lisa felt nervous as all eyes turned to her again. "I listen with my hands," she said. "In human medicine, we learn to feel what is happening inside the body." Each heart was trying to beat, but they were not talking to each other properly. "I just helped them find their rhythm again." "Remarkable," said Professor Zendo. "Our scanners showed us the electrical activity, but they could not tell us how to fix the timing problem." Nixara stepped forward from the crowd of students. "Lisa, how did you learn to do that? Is this something all human doctors can do?" "We call it manual cardiac massage," Lisa explained. "It is one of the first things we learn in medical school. When the heart stops working properly, sometimes you have to help it manually until it can work on its own again." "Manual cardiac massage," Professor Keffer repeated slowly. "You mean human doctors regularly touch patients to heal them?" "Yes," Lisa said. "We use our hands to examine patients, to feel for problems, and sometimes to provide treatment." We listen to hearts with instruments, but we also feel pulses with our fingers. We touch patients to check for fever, swelling, or pain. The Zephyrian. Students looked amazed by this concept. Their medicine relied entirely on machines and technology. The idea of using hands to diagnose and treat patients was completely foreign to them. But how do you know what you are feeling? Asked Quintal. How can hands be more accurate than scanners? Lisa thought about how to explain this. Machines can measure things very precisely, she said. But they can only measure what they are designed to measure. Hands can feel things that machines miss. Subtle changes in texture, temperature, or rhythm. And human intuition can recognize patterns that computers do not understand. Dr. Velthar was quiet for a long moment, studying the readings on her scanner. Finally, she looked at Lisa with an expression that was very different from her usual dismissive attitude. Miss Martinez, she said slowly, I owe you an apology, and I believe this academy owes you a debt of gratitude. Lisa felt her cheeks turn red. You do not need to apologize, Dr. Velthara. I understand why you thought human methods were primitive. But they are not primitive, the doctor said firmly. What you did here today was sophisticated medicine. You diagnosed a condition that our best technology missed, and you treated it using techniques that we do not possess. Professor Keffer tried to stand up, and Lisa quickly moved to support him. Careful, Professor. You should rest for a while longer. I feel fine, he said. But he accepted her help. Lisa, may I ask you something? Of course. When you were applying pressure to my heart, how did you know how much force to use? Too little would not work, but too much could cause damage. Lisa smiled. That is something you learn through practice and experience. Human doctors spend years learning how to touch patients properly. We practice on training models, and we learn from other doctors who teach us. Training models? Professor Zendal looked confused. We practice medical procedures on artificial patients before we work on real ones, Lisa explained. We learn how much pressure to apply, how to position our hands, how to recognize what we are feeling. It takes time to develop the skill. Fascinating, said Professor Keffer. So human medical training includes learning to use your hands as diagnostic and treatment tools. Yes, exactly, Lisa said. We call it clinical skills. We learn to observe patients carefully, to listen to what they tell us, and to use our hands to examine them. Technology is important, but it is only one tool among many. Nixar raised her hand. Lisa, could you teach us some of these techniques? Could Zephyrians learn to examine patients the way humans do? Lisa looked around the room at all the interested faces. I think so, she said. The basic principles should work for any species. You would need to learn what normal feels like before you could recognize what abnormal feels like. This is exactly what I was thinking, said Professor Keffer. He was looking much stronger now, though Lisa still kept a careful eye on him. We have become so dependent on our technology that we have forgotten how to observe patients directly. Doctor. Velthara nodded slowly. I am beginning to realize that we may have lost something important in our pursuit of advanced medicine. We can cure diseases that would be impossible for humans to treat, but we missed a simple timing problem that nearly killed our most respected professor. Maybe the best approach is to combine both methods, Lisa suggested. Use technology for the things it does best, but also use direct observation and touch for the things that humans do best. A hybrid approach, Professor Zendal said thoughtfully. Zephyrian technology with human clinical skills. Professor Keffer smiled, and Lisa was relieved to see that his skin had returned to its normal bright glow. Miss Martinez, I believe I owe you more than just my life. I owe you an apology for the things I said about human medicine. You do not need to apologize, Lisa said. You were working with the information you had. But I was wrong, the professor said firmly. Human medicine is not barbaric or primitive. It is different, and in some ways it is superior to our methods. What you did today required skill, knowledge, and courage that our technology cannot provide. The room fell quiet as everyone absorbed what had happened. Lisa had not only saved the professor's life, but she had also changed the way the entire academy thought about medicine. Professor Keffer, Dr. Velthara said, I think you should still go to the hospital for a complete examination. We want to make sure there are no other effects from this incident. Agreed, the professor said. But first, I want to make an announcement. He looked at Lisa with respect and gratitude. Miss Martinez, I would like to invite you to give a guest lecture to the entire academy about human diagnostic techniques. Lisa stared at him in surprise. A lecture? To the whole academy? Yes, he said. I think it is time for all of us to learn about the methods that saved my life today. Will you do it? Lisa looked around the room at all the faces watching her. These were the same students who had laughed at her just weeks ago, who had called her methods primitive and backward. Now they were looking at her with respect and curiosity. I would be honored, she said as the emergency transport finally arrived to take Professor Kethor to the hospital for observation. Lisa realized that everything had changed. She was no longer the primitive human who did not belong. She was a valued member of the academy who had something important to teach. The real work was just beginning.